Hi everybody and welcome to Cozy Cards and Crystals. My name is Joanna and today it's already time to do another time travel, this time through the month of March. And so of course, like always, there will be timestamps in the video description down below so you can jump to the thing that you're most interested to see or hear about. First, we will start about my tarot and oracle card for the month that I drew in my year ahead spread. Then I will talk about the decks that I have used this month, the crystals that I worked with this month, and then I will talk about TarotTube, podcasts, and games for you gamer nerds out there. Alright, so without further ado, let's start with talking about the cards for the month. So for the month of March, I pulled the Two of Wands and I pulled the accompanying oracle card of Joy. And after the month of February, where it pretty much that month consisted a lot or almost completely out of study and learning and writing my exams, and therefore having a really anxious and chaotic energy within me. And I got the Five of Wands in that month, which I talked about, how that represented my inner struggle and all of that in the time travel video for the month of February. So for the month of March, the Two of Wands comes in. So we're still in the Wands energy, in the fire energy, but instead of having that chaotic, really action oriented, anxious energy of the five, we now have a really more open and more passive and more calm energy with the Two of Wands. That really talked to me about the difference to February. So that chaos and that busyness and that inner anxiety now comes to a close because the exams are over, and now I have some free time until the next semester starts. This month will be more calm and more relaxing. Um, in terms of what's going on outside of myself, but also in terms of what's going on inside myself. Um, and then, of course, this Two of Wands, like you have the whole world is open to you. You have a lot of possibilities and opportunities that you can choose from. So, with all of that, of course, with all of my free time in March until the next semester starts, I can decide. I have a lot more possibilities than I had in February. Now, with the free time, I get to decide what I want to do with that free time. Um, where do I want to spend that time that I have now available? And then with Joy, this card really highlighted the fact that I really need to focus on the things that bring me joy. Um, because with pretty much this whole year, like from January throughout now, through March through February, I really struggled with allowing myself to spend time with the things that make me joy, that nourish me, that my heart beats for, that I love. Because I always feel like, even though when I have time and I have checked all of the boxes on my to-do list and I have done all the things that I really need to do, even then I struggle with allowing myself to spend time with the things that bring me joy, because they're not effective. They don't have a result to them. Um, and so I feel like almost guilty in a way. But what that behavior or that thing led up to was me not feeling really well psychologically as well, because I didn't have a thing that really, yeah, I didn't focus on my mental health in that way, because there was nothing that brought me joy, that nourished me, that nourished my heart and soul, because I always just focused on the things that I needed to do or that felt effective to do or reasonable to do. So now let's talk about the decks that I have used. So I work with the Affirmators Oracle deck, the basic one. There's also one that is dedicated to work and career. There's one that is dedicated to relationships and love, and some other ones. This one is the general one. And so I chose this one because for me, March was a really emotional month and a month for me to um, get to know myself better and to explore my inner landscape, including all of the stuff that hurts to look at, that you don't want to deal with, and that you don't want to deal with because I'm currently in therapy. And now at that point where it starts to get more intense and pretty personal. And so I was a lot of times really emotional and really confronted and a little bit beat up, but in a good way, because that is necessary to heal. So I wanted an oracle and also a tarot deck that I don't had to think about too much, that just gave me the message that I needed, but I don't have to dive deep into or think about or analyze or all of that. And this one is a good deck because the message is right on the card. So the only thing you really have to do is read the message and then you have it. Bam. And I also wanted a tarot and oracle deck that are not only easy to read and deliver the message quite easily without a lot of effort that you need to pull into, because I didn't have the mental capacity and the energy and the emotional state to do that. But that is also a little bit more playful in a way, not too confronting, not too harsh. And these Affirmators decks are really good because they don't shy away from the difficult things. And they are not like sugarcoating anything or like put you in a cozy, soft, fluffy ball of anything, because that's not helpful either. Because I really need to address my shadow selves and my trauma from my childhood and my past and all of that. But they do it in a way that's not too confronting, not too harsh, because that wasn't the energy that I was able to deal with. Um, if they would do those things and they were too confronting, that wouldn't help me either, because then I would just close off, because then anxiety would totally rise up and I wouldn't be able to work with anything. And so the accompanying tarot deck is the Affirmators Tarot for that reason as well. It is quite easy to read because it is RWS based. But first of all, visually it makes it a little bit easier because of all these colors, and because it's pretty much all animals. Um, and also the way the guidebook is written is short messages that come to the point and that recognize the more challenging stuff as well. But the way the Affirmators team writes their messages, especially with the Affirmators Oracle decks, there's always a sense of humor in it. It's like, and that's with this tarot as well. It's like, don't take yourself too seriously, don't take that topic too seriously, don't be too hard on yourself. here's a thing that you can do, or a way that you can think about that thing that will help you move forward or heal or progress with it, or to see it. And yeah, this is bullshit and this is challenging and it is hard. Um, and you have to work with it. But here's a little humor so that you can, it's like a friend that will tell you what you need to know or need to hear and tell you like it is. But in the following sentence, they will sprinkle some humor into it or make fun of it so that you can laugh about yourself or about that problem. Therefore, it is easier for you to work through it, if you know what I mean. And that is what the Affirmator creators actually do really well. And that is why I chose these decks. So those are the decks that I have worked with. So now to the crystals that I have used, and the first one that accompanied me throughout the first half of this month was Ocean Jasper. So because I felt a little inner turmoil and I really explored that inner world of mine, also not only with the beautiful places, but also the more shadowy places that you don't want to stay really long. I really needed something to lighten up my mood, um, but to also calm me at the same time. And Ocean Jasper is a really good crystal for that, or mineral for that, because it allows you to tap into that childlike, humorous, playful kind of energy. It lightens up your mood, but at the same time, it's not super like in your face or heightening your energy or your excitement to a level where then it's hard for you to stay calm and relax. You don't overanalyze all of the time and just go with the flow a little bit more, but at the same time it helps you to relax, to calm down, um, like a day on the beach in your holidays would be. And so that is why I chose this crystal to work with, and it really helped. So for the second half of the month, citrine wanted to come in. Um, and this is a natural citrine that actually has smoky phantoms in it. I don't know if you will be able to see those, maybe if I zoom in. There, that line right there, that is a smoky phantom. And I really wanted that combination because at the second half of the month, what really showed up for me was the topic of self-confidence, self-awareness, confidence, belief in your own self and your abilities, and shining your authentic light out. And so we have a lot of that solar plexus energy. And that is a topic that I really struggle with, self-love, self-acceptance, but also I don't really believe in my gut feeling, in my ability to be successful in pretty much everything. And I also really struggle to shine my authentic light. I'm really closed off a lot of times. And so that since that was a topic that really was showing in the second half of the month, citrine is a really good crystal for that. And with that smoky layer to it as well, smoky quartz is really good to ground yourself with that. And so that grounding energy was also a thing that I really needed. And it also really helps to transform negative into positive energy. And so that combination was a real power couple for me that I really needed. And so citrine was the other one that I worked with. And the last crystal that came into my practice this month is Moonstone. Because this month was also a month where I struggled with the monthly um, problem that a lot of women have. So my hormonal status and my period was already there. And this time it knocked me out of my socks. It was a really painful experience and also a really hormonal chaos in a way. And so I really needed Moonstone to bring a little bit more harmony and order back into my hormonal status within my body, and also to be able to work through that whole um extreme state that my body was in because of that. And Moonstone is a really good crystal to help balance your hormonal system and to tap into that feminine energy, and to help you to work with cycles and accept the different cycles as well that your body is going through. And so this one was a really good SOS crystal for that week where that thing happened to me. So those were the crystals. So now let's talk about computer games. So this month I really spent a lot of time playing games and also watching Let's Plays. And so there were a lot of games that accompanied me throughout this month because it really helped me with my emotional struggles and my health issues and all of that stuff. And so the first game that I want to talk about, you guys, is Drawn the Painted Tower. This is a really old game. It is a game that was developed by Big Fish Studios, and it is an adventure game with hidden objects and puzzle elements. It was released in 2009. So in this game, there's a really interesting and unique factor to it, because it is an adventure game with puzzles and riddles to be solved, but it plays with a mechanism of paintings. So within the story, there's a girl that you need to save, but that girl has um, a special thing where everything that she draws or paints will become alive. And so that game, the video game plays with that in a really interesting way, where you can actually dive into the paintings of that girl and collect different things and talk to different creatures that she has created through her paintings, um, to then use in the real game world, so to speak, which is a tower, to get to her and to be able to save her. But it was a really fun and interesting and unique thing to play with. The next one that I want to talk about is the even older game, which is Monkey Island. Monkey Island Part 1 and 2, which I have watched a Let's Play of. And these are also adventure games. There are even more games within that series developed by LucasArts. So they started in the 1990s, actually, the first few of those. And within these games, you follow the adventures of the main character, Guybrush Threepwood, as he wants to become a pirate, actually. Um, but he doesn't even look like a pirate. He's not really intimidating in any way, so that's the funny thing about that. And the counterpart, the bad guy, so to speak, is a really intimidating um, pirate called LeChuck. And then, of course, you have a little bit of a love story within there too. But what I really love about this video series, I love the humor that the developers put into this game. And they don't shy away from laughing about themselves or the gaming industry and gaming developers, and typical stuff that you will see in a lot of games, or that a lot of games will use. They will recognize that and talk about that within the game and the dialogues of the characters as well, and make fun of themselves as well, which I really love, that they don't take the gaming business too seriously. And their humor is just amazing. So I really loved these games, and I will definitely watch the other games. And it really helped me to get through all of that emotional stuff. And it really lighted up my mood. And then the last game that I want to talk about is Phasmophobia. So Phasmophobia is a paranormal horror game, published or created by Kinetic Games, and it was released in 2020, I believe. And it's basically a game where you are a ghost hunter. It's a co-op game, so you can play it with your friends. So you have different locations where you can go as a ghost hunter with different items that you can use. And then you go into these locations and you need to find the ghost and find out by using these different tools that you have which type of ghost it is. And so it's pretty cool because you talk with each other in terms of co-op, but the game is developed in that way that it will listen, so to speak, to what you say to each other. And if the ghost appears and you're afraid, or you like go out, or oh my fucking god, or stuff like that, um, the AI will recognize those things and react to those things. And so there's times when the ghost is hunting and the ghost activity is pretty high. You can't even get out of the house anymore because all of a sudden all the doors are locked and you have to hide yourself and be really calm and not say anything so that the ghost can't find you and kill you. So it's a really, really good one. Luckily enough, the graphic of the ghosts and stuff isn't super realistic and super high level, because if that was the case, I wouldn't be able to play that game, because otherwise I would have nightmares and all of that stuff. So because of the graphic, it's still pretty, it's shocking and it's spooky, um, but it's still pretty digestible. So it's not like super extreme that you can't sleep at night either. And so it's a really cool one. And it's also really fitting in the thing that I'm currently obsessed about, with it, which is ghost hunting, um, paranormal activities, and all of that, which all started with the Death Becomes Us podcast that I have talked about in my February time travels video. And I'm still listening to, and so Phasmophobia really fit into that obsession. And so now I want to talk about another podcast that I have listened to throughout March and explored in March, and that is a German speaking podcast. So I won't talk about it too much because you won't be able, or most of you won't be able to understand it because it's German speaking. But it's File Number Paranormal. You would translate that the title of that podcast. And in every episode, these two guys talk about different phenomenons, um, or different legends that are out there, like a specific haunted house, or a specific haunted location, or a specific supernatural being. And then they also have episodes where they present stories from the listeners, so you can um, send them your own stories, and that's also pretty interesting. Another podcast that I want to talk about that could be more interesting for you guys, since it's on TarotTube and it's English speaking, is Tarot Uncancelled. I watched them since they first started. Tarot Uncancelled is a podcast that comes out weekly on every Friday, and it's where Martin by Martin's Musings and Renee um, come together to discuss different topics that are around in the TarotTube or Tarot Instagram, Tarot TikTok community right now that are maybe a little bit problematic the way that they have developed or pretty challenging to talk about. And so the whole thing is that they will talk about these things unafraid of being cancelled, so to speak. They talk about difficult topics and topics that are really like there's only two camps, like the ones that are the one extreme and the ones that are the other extreme. And it's really interesting to hear what they have to say. And I love the topics that I chose so far. So I'm always looking forward to the new episode every Friday. So that is the other podcast that I want to talk about. And now let's start with the TarotTube. So there's one thing that I want to talk about and mention, which is the video series that is now actually that two parts out there. It is by Krista Chronicles and it is the recent release test pilot, where she talks about all of the decks that are still pretty new to her, but she also had some time at least to work with and explore, and she gives a little bit of a review. Um, a mixture of a first impressions and review of these decks, which I really love because I feel like we have a lot of unboxings and first impressions and first flip throughs of the decks, but there are not really a lot of really good reviews of the decks out there, which reviews I find really useful because oftentimes for me it's like when I see a first impressions or flip through, oftentimes you can decide based off of that if that deck is something for you or is not for you, just based on the art style, on the way that they depicted the cards and all of that stuff. But especially with some decks, you can't really make up your mind. It's if you really love it or if it's not something for you. And then that is the place where review comes in to really hear about what that deck is like in practice. So those are really, really helpful. And since those are reviews from pretty recent decks as well, they're not super deep reviews because she hadn't really worked with them for a year or something like that, but they're a little bit more, they give you a little bit more of an insight of how the deck actually would function in a use or in your collection. So I really find that blend interesting of it being a little bit more deeper than an actual first impression flip through, but not as super deep as a review of a deck where you really worked 2 or 3 or 4 months in depth only with that one deck, or you already have it for years in your collection. I really find that quite a cool thing to do. So that was my time travel through the month of March. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it helpful. Let me know down in the comments what your month of March was like. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new here or if you haven't already so that you don't miss any of the other videos that are coming up on my channel. And thank you guys for watching. Until next time. Bye.